day we've all been waiting for, the show we've been waiting to host. Welcome to Game Day. It will finally be game night for the 49ers, and this is Wake Up. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger. We're brought to you by Sam's Chowder House, and we could not be more thrilled to be with you than we are right now. Larry, it's here. It happens tonight. For the first time in a long time, we get a 49ers football game that matters.
Wow, and this one, it feels like we've had to wait an extra long time because there was Thursday night football, Friday night football, whole day Sunday, and still we have no idea what the 49ers are going to be. And I think, if anything, week one is oftentimes a very rude awakening because nobody goes hard in minicamp. Only select guys go hard in training camp. And if you looked at the numbers, Damon, and NFL teams played their starters about 10% of the snaps in the preseason. Many teams went 5 to 6% of the snaps. The Atlanta Falcons played their starters 3% of the snaps. And that was the low in the league. And I just think that because of that, this week one is so much kind of like, what are you going to get? I think it was a very difficult week to bet. I think it was a very difficult week to kind of evaluate. I think there was a lot of surprises in week one, and I can't wait to get into it.
It's almost like the old cliche coming out of spring training that the pitching is ahead of the offense, and that's what we kind of saw. The defense looked to be ahead of the offense around the NFL. 5 quarterbacks. I thought this was pretty interesting, Larry. The 5 quarterbacks, Watson, Dak, Cousins, Kyler, and Herbert, who didn't participate at all in the preseason, didn't take a snap until week one. All 5 of them threw for less than 180 yards. Goff and Stafford were the other 2 guys who didn't take any preseason snaps. They played a pretty entertaining game on Sunday Night Football. Didn't look like either was too rusty there. Stafford had one of the more prolific passing days in the NFL in an overtime loss, by the way. But it was, you could see the rust out there. And if you're a 49er fan, what you're hoping for is the rust that is on some young quarterbacks who didn't take any preseason snaps will be all over Aaron Rodgers, who is coming off of an injury and will get back onto a football field. And, you know, at some point in everyone's career, the game starts moving a little too fast for you. And we'll see if that's the night that Aaron Rodgers is looking at tonight. I think the 49ers could make it a really long night for him based on what we saw, how disconnected offenses looked yesterday, and rust is real. And his rust doesn't, just go through this preseason. He didn't play it all last season. Played 4 snaps all last season. So who Aaron Rodgers is a question I don't even think Aaron Rodgers could honestly answer right now.
Well, it's that debate of, and a buddy of mine and I were having this debate 4 or 5 days ago, which is, are the Niners catching Rodgers at the exact right time or the exact wrong time? I actually argue that it's the exact right time, for the argument that you just put forward. That you have to play football to get good at football and to get in sync, especially offensive football. It's so much about cohesion and timing and being on the same page. The old saying, it's like, if you're right and I'm wrong, then we're wrong. But if you're wrong and I'm wrong, then we're right. And if I'm right and you're right, as long as we're on the same page, that's all that matters between a quarterback and his receivers, even if they're both on the wrong page, as long as they're on the same page. So I think it's a huge advantage. He's played 4 snaps since 2022. He didn't play a single snap in the preseason. Teams are willingly trading rustiness in week 1 and sometimes week 2 for health. The Jets are one of those teams. Make them pay. They're probably going to be a little rusty. Make them pay. So by hopefully getting into a high-scoring game that they can't compete with, or at least putting a lot of pressure on Rodgers early, I would imagine, Damon, that we're going to see some Nick Sorensen, Brandon Staley dialed up games up front, because when you have 3 new starters on your offensive line out of 5, I think the best thing you can do when you got rushers like the Niners have is have them looping and twisting and stunting and make that line communicate.
Are you getting exotic on me? Exotic.
Well, it doesn't have to be super exotic, but just some basic stuff that where Rodgers can't identify the one thing about Rodgers, he makes business decisions. He's at that point in his career. He's not looking to get keyholed by anybody. He wants to get rid of the ball. In an ideal world, he is releasing the ball before you're getting to him all night long, and you're getting increasingly frustrated. And then he'll run once, and you'll take kind of a late hit, and he'll draw a penalty. He'll get the whole game and the officials wrapped around his finger. I think the game plan's got to be a lot of movement, a lot of stunts. He has no idea what direction you're coming from, so he gets rid of it quicker. And the Niners make that line communicate.
So we've got Dan already saying that the likes to people watching ratio is not what he's comfortable with. So let's get that right, everybody. Let's get those likes up. It's great to have you here. It really is. Larry and I are going to be with you 4 days this week. This show will be reacting to Monday Night Football on Tuesday. We'll have a special wake up Wednesday. And of course, on Friday, it's great to be with you. And it's awesome to be sponsored by Sam's Chowder House. We are so excited to be partnered with a restaurant that is an absolute Bay Area icon. The 49ers are icon. Larry Krueger is an icon. The bowl of Cioppino that you're about to see is certainly iconic. So we are thrilled to be partnered with Sam's Chowder House. And your next weekend, you're thinking little day trip. What do we do? Get in the car, go down to Half Moon Bay, get yourself to Sam's. Just look at the paella, Larry.
Oh, I mean, the whole thing is it's 5-star, but what makes Sam's like truly unique is the location. It's right there on the water. And so if you're one of these people that's coming from out of town, it's like if I'm going to Philly, I want the Philadelphia experience. If I'm going to Chicago, I want the Chicago experience. And that doesn't mean getting beat up. I would like, if I go to New York, I want the New York experience. You want to feel like you didn't just go to the place and went to, like, I gave our good friend, our mutual friend, Patrick Connor, our old radio friend, we got flown to Philly for Army Navy. We had USAA, Damon, sponsored a dinner for us to go to this amazing Brazilian steakhouse, which is famous in downtown Philly. And they paid for all of it. And Pat begged out because he wanted to go to Chili's to have the awesome blossom on his own dime. Yes.
See, that's some redneck shit right there, Pecan. And I love yesterday was a rough day for Pecan. Cal went to Auburn, or Saturday, I should say.
Saturday. I watched it last night. How about Cal's quarterback? How tough is that kid?
There was no war eagling going on for the good people of Auburn. Huge win for Cal. Jillian even fist pumped like Tiger Woods in the house on Saturday. So
I was shocked by that. Very surprised.
Yeah,
very surprised by Cal going into the SEC. Dave Fleming on the call from Jordan Denny, and they slapped him around. They beat Auburn. That was good.
Don't eat at an Applebee's when you can go to a local restaurant that is famous. I mean, that's just good advice from Uncle Damon and Uncle Larry.
Yeah, and look at this location, guys. Look at this location. I mean, you're on the water. You can sit on the patio. You can sit inside. You have a couple beers. You have a couple, some baked oysters. Maybe you go with the lobster roll. The paella is amazing. They have a bacon wrapped scallop entree that is fantastic over mashed potatoes. But there's also
we got to get just a B-roll, Larry, of just the oyster Rockefeller just coming out sizzling, all the Parmesan cheese all over
butter.
Okay.
Spinach.
We love you, Sam's. We're so happy you're here. Get down to Sam's quickly. If you're coming to Levi Stadium this summer, get to this fall, I should say, get down to Sam's for sure. And we're so happy to have them sponsor this program. By the way, if you're watching over on Larry's channel, do me a favor, come on over and give me a like over here on my channel, and vice versa. If you're watching over here, give Larry love. This is co-streamed on both channels. It is wonderful to have you here. And I don't know if we've officially assembled Voltron to the point, Larry, where we're the biggest sports talk radio station in San Francisco right now, but we're on our way. So that's a good place to be starting from. Interesting note from yesterday. NFL teams averaged just 174.7 net passing yards and 293 total yards per game on Sunday. Both of those are the lowest on any NFL Sunday in the regular season in the last 20 years.
So say it again, the lowest number of passing yards per attempt?
Number of net passing yards.
Net passing yards.
And the lowest number of total yards for a Sunday slate in 20 years. Now,
defense is ahead of the O. Is that what you're saying?
It's a little bit. I think that there's also an evaluation that NFL teams are going to have to do about their preseason approaches here. In the name of getting nobody hurt, I think has absolutely dwarfed these teams' abilities to come out firing on all cylinders. So it's always that balance beam that every single franchise is on. What do you need to do to prepare? What good is preparing if anybody gets hurt? And so every team is trying to thread that needle perfectly. And in a world where the preseason slate just changed recently, I think teams are still trying to figure it out. I mean, and they're not exactly X marks the spot level figuring it out franchise to franchise. You could see the ones that had their shit ready and together. You could see the ones yesterday that looked a step slow and a step behind and a step out of sync. And I very much hope, and Larry, you're our eyes and ears all training camp, that the 49ers are not going to be one of those teams, that they are going to come out. They're going to look crisp, regardless of Brandon Aiyuk's hold in or Trent Williams' holdout. It is up to Kyle Shanahan to make sure that this team looks like it's ready for a midseason drive, first drive of the season. And those are very important and deadly drives for Shanahan. He loves the first drive of the game or of the half. And I think we're going to kind of get a feeling for the 49ers and what they're going to look like right away.
It's going to be a really interesting, X's and O's schematic battle, right? Because Shanahan knows Saleh. Saleh knows Shanahan.
Yeah,
the Niners know the Jets really well, and the Jets know the Niners really well. And so it kind of makes you wonder, who has we were all kind of trying to guess along this week, who has the advantage? Is it Robert Saleh, who knows what Shanahan does, or is it Shanahan? We asked this question to Shanahan, Damon, and he said he doesn't feel like there's an advantage. Of course, that's the answer he's going to give, but he doesn't feel like there's an advantage or disadvantage either way, because he feels like both schemes, the Niners scheme and the Jets scheme, are both sound. In other words, it's not like they're predicated on some wrinkle and everything's kind of stems from there, that they're really sound across the board. So I'm eager to see it. I really am. I think, we talk either side of the football. I don't know what side you want to get into first, but and go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you tell me what side of the football you want to get into first. But I got a couple of thoughts on the matchup on both sides of the ball that, and I've God knows, I mean, I've looked at every single number, every single breakdown, doing the Niners nightly, 6 nights a week, doing the Saturday show. I mean, I'm seriously immersed in Niners in a way that I've almost never been.
Is it a little like paralysis by overanalysis, Larry? Or
it can be. Oh, numbers? Dude, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It absolutely. You can over prepare. You can look at too much. You can watch so much that you can't see the forest through the trees. But let me throw a couple of numbers your way, Damon, that I think that Kev found that are I think are really, really. For those going, Rodgers, it's Rodgers. Okay, just remember this before you say, it's Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, Damon, 3-13 in his last 16 games when he's an underdog of 4 points or more. Now, I believe the Niners are now 3.5, so this might not apply, but it applied yesterday because they were 4.5 yesterday.
I love an interesting gambling tidbit, but as we're talking about what numbers are we going to place value in, other numbers, like to me, all of the past, this is what happened in a guy's career against a point spread, or this is how the team played in week 1 the year previously, or any of that. To me, it's a total illusion that is just out there to create interesting, but is there any real value to it? It's like when you're walking through a Vegas casino and they got a roulette wheel. And then they tell you, what number just hit on the placard next to the roulette wheel. Like, black 44 just hit. So they'll light that up and you go up there thinking, oh, well, that's not going to hit black 44 again. I'm not going to play black 44. And even though that number's lit, it has absolutely no bearing. It could be black 44 again and again and again.
Right.
And so, but you see something.
It's kind of, what stat I think is the most meaningless
indicator of what's about to happen.
The meaningless stat, it's so funny because there's times, to me, the most meaningless stat if you say, well, what are the most meaningless stats you hear people actually state on either radio, television, media in any way? I think it's it's around either the NBA or the NFL draft when they tell you, here's the list of players that have been picked in your spot for the last 10 years. There is no relevance to that at all. I don't care if they're all freaking Hall of Famers. It means jack. I don't care if they're all guys that can't tie their shoes. It means nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. All right, here we go. Stat number 2.
Just real quick, there was a really good documentary. It was Jerry Rice, Wayne Gretzky, and Pele. Greatest hockey player of all time, greatest football player of all time, greatest soccer player of all time. And it was a documentary about their shared traits, what they did similarly, what separated them. It was really, really interesting. And one of the points brought up in the documentary is simply, we have so many stats right now. Are we measuring things because this measurement will give us important data back? Or are we just simply measuring things because now we have the ability to measure everything?
And there's so much of it. It's like, I'd much rather listen to a show where the host took one bit of data that wasn't faulty, that was accurate data, threw it out, used it as a premise for an opinion, and then opened up the lines and let us share their opinions. It's when you get to, 150 different ones, and it's like my head's spinning. But anyway, here's a couple more that Kev dug up that are really good. Okay. Since the start of 2022, Aaron Rodgers, you think of Aaron Rodgers, some people think he's still the best quarterback in the game. He's had the same pass success rate and has the same number of interceptions as one other quarterback in the NFL, Desmond Ridder. So it's not like Rodgers has been hot lately. Since the start of 2022, Rodgers' EPA per play on the rankings, the guy in front of him is Ryan Tannehill. The guy behind him is Baker Mayfield. The point is that, yes, the old coach used to say to me, Damon, he'd be a Krug, man. People get old in this game. He's like, you got a name on the back of your jersey, and then one day all you got is that name on the back of your jersey. And then, the truer words have never been spoken. And I kind of feel like Rodgers is going to get to that point at some point. He's accurate. He's smart. If you give him time, he'll carve you. But he doesn't want to take hits. He doesn't move anymore. And I think some of those numbers kind of show that, you know what? We don't know what we're getting tonight. We haven't seen him in a long time. But I don't think it's going to be the Rodgers of greatness.
I used to say about Klay Thompson in his final year with the Warriors, this is still a very good player, but he no longer possesses the ability to summon it whenever he needs it. It might happen. He absolutely could turn into Klay Thompson right before our eyes and hit 4 threes in a row on 4 straight trips. Like, that could happen. It is in the realm of possibility, but it is not a flip. It's not a switch on the wall that Klay can go over and now flip himself whenever he wants it. So Aaron Rodgers could still happen, or he could not. And that is, like you just said, there are moments where he turns into a pedestrian. He is just another quarterback walking amongst a group of quarterbacks. He is not out at the lead, leading them in every statistical category that matters. That guy's now Brock Purdy, by the way, or has been certainly through much of last year. And that's the exciting thing of this. We're watching a guy at the end of his career who is absolutely a Hall of Famer, great quarterback. And we're watching a guy very much at the beginning of his career still who could be those things someday himself. By the way, who had a really good weekend without anything done yet? Who's that? Brock Purdy, thanks to that Dak Prescott extension. Do you think that? Do you think a few of Brock Purdy's friends might have texted him that Dak number when it went public on Sunday? Hey, man, here's what you got to look forward to.
Man, I mean, it's funny. I think Brock Purdy should never ever talk about his contract. Never. He shouldn't talk about his current contract. He shouldn't talk about his next contract. He should never talk about it. He should, because I think I've heard him talk a bunch of times. The only time that I ever feel like he shouldn't say what he's saying is when he's talking about how difficult it is to survive on 900 grand. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like when he talks about how little he makes when he's making 900 grand. That's the only time I've ever heard Brock Purdy say anything where I thought that wasn't just the perfect thing to say. You know what I mean? Right. He says the perfect thing so many times.
Right. He's NFL quarterback poor, just normal people, very, very well set up.
Yeah. If you had a buddy making 900 GER, you don't want him to talk about how there's all these people making so much more.
Not worried about that.
That's ticky tack. That's ticky tack. Brock, class act, man. Just class act.
Yeah, so the only time George Kittle has ever stepped to the podium and turned me off a little was when he came out and he started ripping on guys' shoes. I wanted to be, if I had been in the auditorium that day, I would have been like, hey, George, do you realize that you made more money walking from the locker room to this podium right now than everybody in this room will make all year? That's why our shoes aren't as good as yours, dick.
He was just, I was having fun with that too. I thought it was funny.
He was just funny. He was just trying to be one of the guys.
And George, you know what? Here's the thing. George is a dude. And what do I mean by that? I always used to say, people would be like, you hate Gabe Kapler. Why do you hate Gabe Kapler? And I would be, because Gabe Kapler is a weirdo. And he's just not a dude. He's not a dude. And you say, well, what is it? What define what a dude is? A dude is a guy that you sit him down at your table at Wingstop and or you're sitting at the next table and you just start chatting it up. And pretty soon, you're talking ball with the guy. Everybody a regular kind of dude who's just,
by the way,
just easygoing and just a normal guy who just is gonna, be normal. Gabe was not like that. He was just, by the way, weird.
You know who has not a dude written all over him? Tom Brady. We'll talk about that more.
He struggled.
I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down that road.
Struggle.
Imagine how many producers could have been better paid. How many people wouldn't have had to been laid off across several media platforms if they had just kept Greg Olson, who's a million times better than Tom Brady will ever be at this, as the number one guy, and just never hired Tom Brady. Tom Brady not being in a broadcasting booth would be not missed at all. Anyway, we'll get into that a little bit.
And also, I don't like to judge. I don't like to judge anybody off the first preseason game.
One broadcast,
which is basically what he's got.
Right. One broadcast. I'm sure he'll get better, but holy shit, he was robotic and he was as insightful during a football game as Kelly Clarkson was during the opening Olympics.
I think he's just a little, the word I would use is stiff.
Very stiff, very robotic, because he's not a dude. He's not a normal guy.
I think he was a dude that lost dude status, Damon.
Exactly. He wasn't normal, but then he became an elite. He tried to be that guy. He tried to convince himself that he was living in a world where strawberries were the enemy.
Yeah. I think Tommy is a normal guy.
He used to be. He can't. There's no normalcy. There's no coming back for that guy.
Well, no. I mean, he's no longer a normal guy. But he was a normal guy.
More stats you think are important for tonight. Go, Larry.
Well, no. Those were it. That was it. Pretty much for the night. This is also kind of interesting for those of you who are like Aaron Rodgers. Oh no. The last time Aaron Rodgers threw for 300 yards in a game was December 12th, 2021. Okay. Since that 300-yard day for Rodgers, he is 12-11 straight up, 10-13 against the spread.
Yeah. Look, there's an awful lot of just a guy.
And the Jets suck.
Guy on him.
There was somebody in the chat earlier, Damon, and the chat's so vast and it's hard to find stuff. There was somebody in the chat like, I hate the Jets because they're so arrogant for accomplishing so little. Them and their fans think of themselves as so much. And I kind of agree. It's like all this bluster about Jets, Jets. How about CRAP, crap?
Right.
Because that's what they've been.
So
They've been totally lame.
I saw this video that the Jets put out.
68, Namath guaranteed the Super Bowl. That was 2 years before I was fucking born.
Larry,
I mean, my God.
The Jets put out a video saying the greatest chant in sports is reborn. To me, it's the ultimate loser's chant. Like when I see somebody get a traffic ticket, in my mind, I go Jets, 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 Jets. Like, you fucking loser. Like if we're being completely honest, the only thing the Jets have going for them is the New York media market. If the Jets were based in Peoria, Illinois, if they were the Peoria Jets, if they were the Buffalo Jets and the Bills were the New York Bills who shared the stadium, you'd never hear about the Jets. Like, they would not matter if they didn't have so much New York bullshit pumped through them. They would be irrelevant. They'd be the Carolina.
Well, and I wouldn't hate them so much if the league didn't try to help them. I mean, you sit there and go, Krug, what are you talking about? Go read the Warren Sharp rest article from last season. The year that Aaron Rodgers got to the Jets had a rest advantage on their opponent in like every game. Almost every game of the season, they had a rest advantage. The league absolutely set it up last year for the Jets to go to the playoffs because the league is now flipping the bird to fairness and flipping the arms wide open to cash. The NFL has never sold out competitive matchups for cash in the present like they are right now. And it's not a statement that I can't support. It's a statement that I can support.
Right,
you can go read the Warren Sharp article. It's really, really good. He will literally go through and show you year by year how the NFL has gotten the disparity. Like this year, the disparity in rest between the team that has the least rest, the 49ers, minus 41 rest days, and the league that had the team that has the most rest, the Baltimore Ravens, are like plus, or it's like the Niners are minus 30 and the Ravens are plus 20. The Ravens have like almost 50 more rest days over a 4-month schedule than the 49ers. Two teams that could wind up together going at each other in Super Bowl Sunday. And I hope they do, because if they do, we will have the Niners as the least rested team in football going up against the most rested team in football. And it should highlight an inequity that the league is not just understanding of, but is really pushing. This number has gone up.
In the name of money and sexy matchups, equity of rest has been completely ignored. There's no doubt about that. And thank you very much for baking in the 49ers lost another Super Bowl excuse before we've even started the year, Larry. So I appreciate that. I'm sure everyone watching does too.
It would be I'll say this. Think about it logically. Forget 49ers. If I just told you Team A, Team B, they play in the same league, they compete for the same trophy, but over a 4-month period in a sport as physical as football, one team's going to have a month. We're only talking about a 4-month season, and one team has over a month more rest than another team over the course of a 4-month season. And you're going to tell me that that's fair and equitable? You know, that is not fair or equitable.
No, it's not. Like and subscribe across both channels, fair and equitable. We appreciate that. Thank you very much for your super chats, for watching. It is great to have you back for another football season. I'm guessing that there are people in the room that have watched, everything you do, Larry, everything I do. And I'm guessing there are other people in the room right now who have not watched anything since the Super Bowl, and they're very excited that football season is back. I know we've been sitting here talking about what Aaron Rodgers isn't. I want to bring up Robbie439 real quick here, because Robbie says, Larry, you're acting like Zach Wilson or Mike White is still QB1. Even if Aaron Rodgers takes a couple steps back, he's still an enormous improvement over what they had last year. And you know what, Robbie? You're right. There is a world where Aaron Rodgers comes out spinning that fucking thing all over the field and kicks the 49ers' ass tonight. I have trouble seeing it, but that world exists. It absolutely does. You want to get beat by a future Hall of Fame quarterback? Start thinking about what he might not be tonight. So that, yeah, I agree. Aaron Rodgers could come out looking like Aaron Rodgers, but I would think the odds are against that happening. And the 49ers are also the right team to make it. The 49ers have always been a little rough on Aaron Rodgers, no matter what his pedigree, no matter what.
He owned them, and now he owned, he owned them
right
for years, and now they own him. They've owned him the last few years. But I mean, here's the thing on this. It's not just the quarterback. The Jets they have Breece Hall, and they're going to run the ball. And here's the other thing. My big concern for the 49ers, they haven't really done a consistent job at defending the screen pass over the last couple seasons. And now here comes Rodgers, who they don't want to have any pressure on. And I would imagine there's going to be, if the Jets are smart, they're going to throw, I would say, a half dozen screen passes to Breece Hall. And Breece Hall is 5'11", 215 pounds, but with sub 4.4 speed. So he's got great speed. Guys take bad angles. There's too much space on the field when the Niners are playing defense against the screen pass. So, yeah, if the Jets run the ball successfully, I think they're going to attempt it. And if they can have a successful short passing game, then, yeah, Rodgers is going to have success. And so that's kind of where it starts. And I kind of like the under in this game because I think the 49ers game plan is real clear. I mean, the Jets last year were top 5 in almost every defensive category except against the run, where they were 25th against the run. So I expect the 49ers to run the ball a lot in this game, maybe 55-45 run pass, something like that. More run than pass. And I think the Jets will have more run than pass. I kind of think this is going to be a hard hitting, low scoring, very physical football game. That's kind of what I'm predicting.
I think it's a defense first football game too. And I'm also going to lean into the under, especially if you're telling me that Christian McCaffrey right now is questionable. Questionable means even if he does play, he's not getting 30 plus touches tonight. He's not going to be used like Joe Mixon was, who got 30 carries for the Houston Texans on Sunday. I would imagine less is more from Christian McCaffrey, which means maybe JP Mason has himself, his welcome to the NFL night that his career has been waiting for. I really think that he can be a really good running back for the Niners. I want to see Debo touch the ball. I want to see Juszczyk touch the ball. I don't want to see much of McCaffrey. And I'm thinking about, how are 49ers fans going to spend their day today? Well, you got to spend it getting out of work, because you better leave work early if you want to be in your seat for kickoff. It's tough getting a Levi Stadium on a weekend.
Not just early. You might want to call it a half day.
You might want to go now. You might want to start getting to Levi Stadium right now. But unfortunately, I think they've changed tailgating rules. So you're going to...
Yeah. We got a couple supers here real quick, Damon. Fuji Simeon 13 says, Larry, I'm chilling. High C juice boxes for tonight.
There we go. We got
chilling his juice boxes.
Ready, right? Did people love the juice box?
Oh, I know. Seriously, dude. I had so many people text me and be like, dude, that juice box thing had me rolling. And then we got this one. Thoughts on the new tailgate rules at Levi's. All right. I don't know what the new tailgate rules are. I did see that they're going to open the gates for the media today at 12:15, I think, is when the parking lot opens for the media. I don't know Damon, are you in any way familiar with the rules, either the old rules or the new rules? And I apologize, guys, because I do try to be up on this. If I knew last night that there was going to be a question on the new tailgate rules, I literally would have looked that up, but I have no idea what you're even talking about. What do you know, Damon, what he's referencing? You referenced it just now. I wasn't sure.
So there's like a new tailgating policy where you can no longer just pull into where you're setting up your tailgate and being like, okay, so we're going to park here, and then next to us is going to go 2 tents that we're going to put our grills in and some chairs in, maybe a TV, the cooler. Like you park, and then you can set up, I think, behind your car. You can't set up like camp. Like you can't have a 4-car level tailgate anymore, which is going to piss off groups that like to tailgate together. But really, why they're doing this more than anything?
I don't like that.
Let me tell you why they're doing this. They're doing this.
Give us some info on this one.
They're doing it so you drink less and eat less and have less fun outside. Therefore, you go inside and spend more money. That's why they're doing this. They're not creating any. It's going to be easier to get in and out. It's going to be safer in the park. None of that. This is an absolute
money grab.
You get less, we get more. You don't have time to eat 3 burgers before you walk in. You'll buy our food when you walk in. I'm telling you, Levi Stadium.
Oh, is that wait? Is that what they're doing? They're shortening the window. Is that what you're saying?
They've shortened the window. I think they've shortened who can actually park where and when and how much space you can take up. It's just everything about
I'm all also this. I am.
You don't believe me? The whole place stinks. It stinks.
First of all, it has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with the stadium.
It all stinks.
It has nothing to do with the stadium. But I am. We got this one from JW. He says new tailgate rules are antithetical to football. Here's the thing about it. I'm all for the tailgaters. I really am. Why? Because these are your best fans. These and you know what? As somebody, I've had a unique position the last couple of years as far as the tailgate's concerned. I park in the top right corner of the media lot, right in the, if you're looking at the stadium from the main lot, top right corner. And I was doing the show with Lo Neal on 95.7 The Game from the Santa Clara Hilton, which is at the bottom left corner of the parking lot. So I literally diagonally shot through the parking lot after I parked to get to the broadcast and then to get into the game. So I literally walked through every one of these tailgates. These are wonderful. These are incredible. People are out there breakdancing. They're laying down mats. They're laying down floors. They're these are our people. These are our fans. You know how many times I've had people say, dude, tell Damon I said, dude, Krug, what's going on? Come do a shot, have a burger, have a dog, take a picture. I love these people. I absolutely love these people. And I love that they love each other. I mean, there's a community. I would say that the Niners are kidding themselves that they don't understand the motivations of their fans. I would say, these games are all on TV. You can watch all these games on TV. These people are going and spending time and money because this is when they see their uncle. This is when they see their nephew. This is when they, you know what I mean? This is the best part of the NFL. Now the Eagle fans with their flipping birds and swearing and all that crap, that gets a little much. But you know what? I love the Niner fan who's tailgating, and I'm all about them. I'd give them more time in the parking lot and, less rules and, celebrate that as much as possible because to me, right now, the Niners are good. But and I know sports are cyclical, and they're going to be shitty again. Yep. And so if you want people to keep showing up in huge number through the shitty times, they got to have a little bit more than just a connection to George Odom. You know what I mean? They got to have a connection to one another. And that's what this thing is. So I think it's short-sighted, Damon. I think that's the word I would use. It's short-sighted. It's petty. The NFL teams make enough. And they should lean into this. And not as far as drunkenness, but they should lean into because the fights are too much. But they should lean into it as far as incentivizing.
Mark Davis used to say that the most important thing that the new stadium had was tailgating for his great Raiders fans. And then they literally built a stadium where none of that can happen. So it's a whole bunch of lip service. The choice between doing right by my fans.
Why was that?
Making more money. The choice between doing right by fans or making more money is not a choice for NFL owners. They will make more money and choose more money and screw over their own fans every single time and chance that they get. There is a petition right now. This is on change.org, Larry. It says, what would you do if your favorite football team made tailgating almost impossible? The San Francisco 49ers have instituted a new parking policy that eliminates the ability to choose where you park, and even their most committed fans are outraged. They believe this policy will make tailgating all but impossible, and some season ticket holders are even suggesting the new rules would convince them to stop going to games. And there is a change.org petition that has already been signed by 3,700 fans. About
it means a lot to the fans, man. It means a lot. Yes. It really does. I mean, I don't want to say it means more than the game, but I would say it means as much. And what I really don't like is I liked it when okay, so I had friends, we went, they had season tickets, and I bought in for, a few years there where I was going to every game with my buddies. We used to meet at the E-Pole at Candlestick. Well, guess what? Whether it was a night game, a day game, a Monday game, a Thursday game, we didn't have to call everybody and text everybody. We knew we're meeting at the E-Pole. That's where we set up camp. And people in those parking lots set up at the exact same spot week after week. I know this for a fact because I've literally seen the exact same people in the exact same spots. And now basically what you're saying is it's kind of like a first come, first serve. And they're just going to kind of line everybody up. Right. And they're not going to allow you to go to, hey, we're going to this spot, we're going to that spot, pre-designated areas. How's anybody going to find anybody?
You want to know who I became really good friends with? Butcher Boy. Like, I went to his actual butcher shop. As you know, he used to call into my show. We talked during a commercial break. He's like, I'm in a butcher shop. I'm like, oh, you're really a butcher? And so I go and I met him, and that's how like we first met. And then he's like, dude, after you're doing a 49er pregame show, you should come out to my tailgate. And they would always used to set up in the Candlestick parking lot by the observation tower, the little, lookout tower that was in the parking lot of Candlestick. And he and his boys would basically take their cars and they would make a giant square around that, and they would turn it into their tailgate spot. Well, that can no longer happen at Levi Stadium. Here's the thing. Candlestick as a stadium, I loved it. It was cockeyed and goofy, and it worked, and that was NFL history, but the stadium sucked. But the parking lot and the tailgating was awesome. Same thing with the Coliseum. The Coliseum was no state-of-the-art diamond at any point in time, but that tailgate, Raiders tailgates, holy shit, those were
Guy Fieri used to show up.
Those were awesome. And now you got a shitty stadium and a shitty tailgate situation, Niners fans. I'm sorry.
Well, let's see where it goes. I mean, first of all, it hasn't, you can blame, I guess, the Niners and the leadership, but you can't blame the stadium for that. I mean, it's not the
no, because the stadium was built in the wrong place, in an office park. They built it.
Which, you're right. It was way better than Hunter's Point.
Yes,
M. Morris says it's already better staying home. Carmen Policy said in an interview that I did with him on KMBR 2015, he said, quite honestly, Larry, the couch experience has exceeded the stadium experience in the NFL. And I believe, and this is Carmen speaking at the time, that that's a significant problem
it's
going
a better
forward.
TV show than it is an in-person experience. I've reached that conclusion,
different.
Not only as a fan, but as someone who covers a game. Larry, I cover the game better from my couch than I can from that press box.
It's the only sport where you could be at the game and you could be on a stream in the post game with somebody who watched it at home, and the person who was at the game might be asking the person who watched it at home what happened. Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
And yet we're privy to, you're not privy to the all 22. I'm privy to the coverage. I'm sitting there in the upper deck. I can see the coverage. I should know more about the game than the guy sitting on the couch, but I'm also not hearing any of the commentators, and I have to know what coverage I'm watching. I've got to know a little something about coverage to know what I'm watching if nobody's telling me this. So you know what I'm saying? It's a different experience. But if you're going to really push back on the stadium experience via the tailgating, then suddenly you're now daring people to experience the NFL on the couch. And when they experience that experience and realize that it's cheaper and easier and maybe is good or better, then you've lost a lot of in-stadium fans, and that's not a good thing. So I don't, I'd tread very lightly on this thing. If I were the 49ers, I would not, dig my heels in and be like, this is the way it's going to be going forward. Because what if you do turn off 75% of your fans, your hardcore fans? I guess the only other option, if you were going to the game and you love tailgating, is stay out of the main lot. Because I guess there's all these secondary lots, right, Damon, all over the place. Like you mentioned the Niners, it's a big business park. So yeah, the main lot is huge, but then if you're driving in, there's all kinds of little side lots. I wonder,
the main
those
lot,
real rules don't count for those side lots.
And the main lot is the lot that the diehard fans are in, who want to set up the tailgate that is Instagram ready, that is,
5 tents and 2 grills. And
exactly. And a DJ is spinning, and you just,
it's awesome. It's amazing.
It is. Dude, there was one time I was at an Ohio State Michigan game in Columbus. Somebody craned in a grand piano to be played in the freaking parking lot of that. Yeah, people go nuts with their tailgating rituals, and this is going to make the people who are most married to their rituals have to go and find new tailgating rituals, and that sucks. You don't do that to your fans.
No. So Invader 49ers says, Larry, can't you say something? This is a multi-million-dollar decision. They did not come to this lightly, and they're not going to listen to their talk show guy. You know what I mean? I know everybody, but it doesn't mean they're going to listen to me. Nor do I have any pull with these guys in this category.
The Niners were handed a booklet of data points about this decision, and all of the data points that pointed to, and your fans get fucked over, meant so much less to the data point of, look at how much more money we'll be making. And that's it. That's it. I'm telling you right now, Jed York doesn't give a shit about you, your family, its experience, how much fun you're going to have. He doesn't. But no other NFL owner really does either. So I'm not going to hold it just against him. This is a business. The business is meant to shake money out of your pockets. That's it. That's what it is. It's disguised as this ritual we're all a part of, but we're also secondary to what's happening here. And it's
what it's going to force us to, what it's going to force people to do. I'll say this. People get creative. When we were kids, I was one of 4 kids, right? So, and my dad made decent money, but we, times were tight. The 70s, there was a recession, and when we'd go to the movies, Damon, we would go to like a Walgreens or a Safeway or someplace like the Woolworth, and get like a little candy there and put it in our pocket and carry it in, because my dad was like, hey, we're not going to spend $4 for Skittles when we can pay 75 cents or whatever over here. And, so that was kind of what we did at the, so now what, and then, and it would always felt like we were breaking the rules. Like, we're bringing candy into the movie, we're going to get in trouble. But you're almost daring people to do that kind of behavior when you make 2 beers and 2 dogs $75.
Yeah. Look, stadiums were supposed to be large enough to where normal blue collar folks weren't just priced out. You got a lousy seat in the upper deck, but now those lousy seats in the upper deck are all $400 too. So it's
right.
It is.
Tickets are not cheap.
No, it is an absolute 1%er experience. You have to be on the very good side of wealthy or well off to attend multiple football games in any year. That's it.
So can I tell you this story, Damon? A couple years ago, my kids are a little older now, but a couple years ago, somebody gave me like 4 or 5 tickets to a game. Like it was like one of those holiday games the Niners played, or right around. It was like a holiday weekend. It wasn't actually a holiday. So as I came home, I'm like, hey, I actually have 4 or 5 tickets to the Niner game. Do the kids want to go? So my kids all like, yeah, Dad, we want to go. You can't sit with us, right, Dad? You got to sit in the press box. I'm like, yeah. But you guys can go together. So my son went. He brought his girlfriend. My daughter went. My little guys went. Everybody had a good time. So I located them because I knew where they were sitting with binoculars. And I'm looking at them, just seeing where they're sitting, making sure they're okay. And I look over in like the 4th quarter, and this woman is like completely hugging my Christopher, my youngest kid, who must have been like 7 at the time or 8. Right. And she's hugging him. I'm like, what is going on? So I get on my cell phone and I call Kev. I'm like, Kev, who is that woman And why is she hugging Christopher? He's like, Dad, this woman's she's wasted, and she's been hugging him for like a whole quarter and a half. She won't stop hugging him. She says he's the cutest thing ever, and this and that. And I'm like thinking to myself, you know what? They're having fun and he's safe and it's no big deal. But it's random. You know what I mean? You're sitting. So I personally love the stadium experience, but I wouldn't want it every Sunday. You know what I mean? I'd love to go experience it. But if you get like, in the bigger the game, would I rather be sitting at the 50 or watching it up close with replays? And I'd much rather have the home experience for a big game than like you and I sat next to each other in Super Bowl 47. And we had a great view on our end of the field, but like on the game winner for Crabtree, we had to look like far down to like our right. It wasn't a great view. I guarantee you.
We were on like the 15, 20 yard line, and that was happening on the other end zone. So
right. And so we were there and we experienced the lights going out and experienced the whole, and that was an experience, and it was cool, but it wasn't. There's a trade-off. That's all I'd say. There's a trade-off. The guy on the couch saw that Crabtree play better than you and I did, and we went on the radio 45 minutes later and talked about it. Would have been cool to get, both.
I remember we're doing that post-game show. I get a text from Lee Hammer saying, you guys want to back off a little bit? I text him back. I'm like, they just lost the fucking Super Bowl, Lee.
I'll never forget that day, by the way, Damon, because we had to get some interviews in the locker room. So I go down there with my recorder, and dude, who wants to talk after losing the Super Bowl, right? I mean, literally everybody who looks at you, who normally would interview with you, just like looks down and walks away because they don't want it. It's the Super Bowl. So I'm sitting there and I'm realizing this is gonna be really tough to get an interview. And I think I even said that. I think I said, fuck, man, it's gonna be really tough to get an interview in here. And Alex Boone heard me. He's like, Krug, you need an interview? I said, yeah, man, I really do. And he's like, come over here. And he ducks into like some broom closet, and he did like a 6-7 minute interview with me. He's like, and then I said, man, that was awesome. And we got back, we played it. You and I played it. You and I got great response from the post-game show. Oh, what a great post-game show, this and that. And guys like that, I remember seeing Boone the next year. I was like, dude, I appreciate you because I needed something there. They sent us there for a whole week, right? They put us up in a hotel. They wanted, we were only doing really some pre and some post and some game, they wanted some good guests, and,
they wanted that 5-hour-long show on Saturday afternoon too. And we were just like dying. We've been out so hard.
It was great though.
It was great. A good show. Anyway, look, it's so good to have everyone here, complaining about tailgating or not. It is great that football season is back. Yesterday at 10 a.m. is like the happiest I have felt as a sports fan. Just all those games kicking off, that first witching hour. I even tweeted, I'm like, the next 20 minutes promise to be our best 20 minutes of the day. This is the best. All these games coming down to the wire. I love it. And now the grand finale of week 1 is 49ers and Jets. And let me ask you, Larry, Christian McCaffrey, he's questionable for this game. What time do you think we officially learn that he is playing in this game? Because I think he's playing in this game.
He told us, Damon, at his locker in no uncertain terms on Friday that he was going to go. He said it with such conviction that I would say you can throw out that questionable 50-50 thing and he's going to go. The question is, should he go? And I would say he should not go. Last year was about let Christian do what Christian wants. This year, fuck that. This year's should be about let's do what we want. And screw Christian and his individual stuff. I mean, I don't give a shit about the Pro Bowl or his contract.
Could be the
or his yards or his stats.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't give a crap about his stats. I want to win. And I'm tired of them. I'm tired of them having this awesome, it's like I drew the comparison last night on a stream I did with Kev. If you had 2 cars and one car was in the driveway and it was an awesome car, but man, it's got radiator problems and it's been overheating and you're not sure about 4 or 5 different things, but you're going cross country and you're planning on taking that car. and you have another car that's right there, and it's ready to roll. It's in great shape, and it has like 2,000 miles on it. It's all tuned up, but you don't like it as much as the other car, so you're not going to use that car, and you're going cross country. You know what? It's just not wise. JP Mason is fresh. He's in rhythm. He looked great. You either believe in this kid or you don't. If McCaffrey really does have any degree of a Achilles issue, as they're stating it's a calf/Achilles, then use precaution. Sit him out. It's the Jets. It's week 1. You can't beat the Jets with Jordan Mason. I could make an argument that Jordan Mason would enter this game with more rhythm than McCaffrey based on his usage this summer. So I would rather them go with Jordan Mason tonight and pickle jar McCaffrey. The Super Bowl is not till February. It's the first week of September.
You kept Patrick Taylor. Asked Patrick Taylor to pick it up. Debo Samuel.
Yes.
We've seen you run with the ball to great degrees of success. You pick up the slack.
Yes.
I keep on returning to Andrew Brandt. The player plays. And McCaffrey's a player. So, yeah, he I think he's going to play. I hope he doesn't get more than 15 touches in this game. I hope it's not necessary. I hope they have the luxury of using him less and not fall into the temptation of losing him more should the game get tight or be in question fourth quarter. If there's one thing we know is that Kyle Shanahan is a really smart guy who can scheme up just about anything. He also completely had a Christian McCaffrey dependency that he could not shake like a heroin addict. He needs some Christian McCaffrey methadone to get off the McCaffrey teat. And I think it's going to make this a better team when it matters the most. And the 49ers need to be in being the best when it matters the most mode all year long. Because who cares? You go undefeated in the regular season. You don't win the Super Bowl. It's like nothing happened. So,
you get to the finish line with a chance to win it. If the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl, they're going to have to beat a Kansas City, a Baltimore, a Houston, most likely. They're going to have to beat a really good football team. You're going to have Christian McCaffrey at close to 100%. And since this sport is ridiculously physical and it's September the 9th and the Super Bowl's February the 9th, how about let's show some precaution and let's not act like Christian's got the final say. Christian's not the coach. Shanahan, you're the coach. You make the decisions. You dictate to him. He doesn't dictate to you. So I get it. I understand why they kind of kowtowed to him. All right, fine. He had his monster year. He made a run at the MVP. He got his big bag. Terrific. Now let's have it be about the team. And Mason and Garendo and Patrick Taylor and Debo and just use all your guys. Use all your guys. That's all I would say. And if Christian's got any kind of an Achilles situation, if it really is an Achilles situation, caution. Right. Lots and lots of caution, right?
Right. We went through that with Kevin Durant. Let's not go through that with Christian McCaffrey. We went through that with Klay Thompson. Let's not do that with Christian McCaffrey. He is so important to this team. And, somebody in the chat just said something like, hey, Brock Purdy's more important. Look, all quarterbacks are more important than anybody on a football team. That's kind of how it works. But Christian McCaffrey, I would argue, is as important to making an offense go on this team than any running back has been on any team they played on in the NFL. Like Christian McCaffrey is to 49ers running game as like Barry Sanders was to the Detroit Lions running game there. I'm not saying that, Brock Purdy's Sam Mitchell over here, but this is a very important player who unlocks the entire depth of Kyle Shanahan's offensive imagination. He's so important. So yeah, you proceed with caution, but if he feels,
and he is a likable guy. By the way, Jose Julian says he doesn't sound like a likable guy. No, he's a super likable guy.
McCaffrey?
he's not a great interview. Like he's not like one of those guys that's going to be electric. He's low key and understated, but he's a terrific guy. No, he's a very nice guy.
What he is, Larry, is he's smart, and he knows that there's nothing I can say at this podium that will ever really work for me. I can only say something that might work against me. So I'm going to say as little as possible. And that's what smart players do.
Or there's all different kinds of personalities. Some guys embrace it and love it, like George. George loves it. George, I get the feeling, almost looks forward to it. Christian does not.
George Kittle would be a professional wrestler if he weren't a football player. Christian McCaffrey would not be a professional wrestler if he weren't a football player.
Some people, when you're walking down the street, have that look like, don't approach me. Other guys have that look like, hey, come approach me. George is like the kind of guy that if you walk by him on the street, I think he almost would want you to say, hey, what's up, George?
Yeah.
What's up, bro? Well,
Loves the
Christian,
attention.
if he was walking down the street, would probably you just give him kind of this, like the head bob, the high school head bob in the hallway. You see your buddy in the hallway. You're too cool in high school to say hi. You see just
sup.
You
don't even get the what's up. You get the apostrophe SUP.
Sup.
Larry, next time someone's thinking of supping on some fine seafood, get yourself to Sam's Chowder House. We're so happy that they're our sponsor. We love you, Sam's. Thank you for being aboard. Show them what's up down in Half Moon Bay. Look at the cioppino. Look at the paella. You're going to see the star of the whole show. There she is, the lobster roll. Look at her right there. Oh, that's good. By the way, the chips that they make there too, the chips better than the French fries, I think.
Look at the cioppino. Look at the broth sitting there.
Just waiting for you, baby.
I would say the smell of the cioppino as they're cooking it is just the smell of Sam's is easily the greatest smell in the history of restaurants.
That's a great smell.
And then this outside patio here in front, you're looking at the Pacific Coast, and you could sit there and have oysters Rockefeller, or maybe you can go raw bar oysters on the half shell, and you just sit there and you just throw down some oysters and have a couple beers and look at the water. And
look at our man, Sean.
Look at this time of year, man. This time of year is amazing.
Yeah, just play the Sam's video on a loop. Nobody wants to see your mugs. I hear you. They look so much better than
what if we did this for an hour and a half?
I mean, we would probably at some point need a second Sam's video to put up, but in the meantime,
we'll get one. But this is really nice.
So happy to be involved in Sam's, and we're going to tell you when to come on down and meet Larry and I there. We'll spend a little afternoon, bring the family, bring the kids. So we will have some.
We'll meet up on the beach.
Yes, absolutely. Some fun at Sam's coming up this fall. Can't wait to do that. We love that they're a part of this. They've been sponsoring Niner broadcasts throughout their history that you and I share with them, and we're thrilled to have them along with us. Take care of us by hitting like, subscribe, and make sure you get to Sam's Chowder House as soon as you can. You'll be happy that you did. Larry, the single biggest thing that happened in week 1 around the football universe as it affects the 49ers, their playoff chances, opponents, seeding, something I think significant has already happened. How significant? We'll know more when the swelling goes down and they really tell us. Jordan Love's MCL sprain. If that doesn't remind everybody how close you are to, being a team that's a real contender to being you're out of it now. Jordan Love's MCL sprain, surgery won't be needed as it being reported right now, but it's a multiple week injury for sure. He got hurt with 6 seconds left on like the last play of the game against the Eagles in Brazil. You never want your guy hurt and then have to fly all the way back home. One of the longest flights any NFL team has ever had, over 10 hours, like just not good. And what's even worse for the Packers is right now their quarterback room is Malik Willis and Sean Clifford. So the Green Bay Packers.
And they're lucky because they just acquired Willis. It had been Sean Clifford and the rookie Michael Pratt from Tulane. But Pratt got away from him, I believe, at the cutdown. He's on a different team now. But yeah, I mean, good news
Packers
for Green Bay. Good news for Green Bay. They didn't lose Love for the year, though.
Yeah. I mean, look, this just the first regular season game since the guy signed a 4-year, $220 million contract.
Wow.
And he has a knee injury, and that'll make any fan base hold its breath. I mean, can you tell me if they have to play 4 games without Jordan Love that they're going 2-2 with
their whole season? Their whole season's hanging in the balance there
right now.
I mean, it looked like, well, first of all, some people were saying Jalen Carter was dirty on the play. I don't know about that. It didn't look that dirty to me. But then we did see some pop in that knee. I mean, you could see some movement there beneath the knee pad in that knee. It looked bad. It looked like
I thought he broke his leg, Larry. I thought that was going to be it.
I thought it was a dislocated kneecap, maybe, because the way that kneecap kind of moved like quickly. But I mean, it's quarterback play in the NFL, man. I mean, this is the other thing, Damon. I mean, we never really talk about this. We always talk about playing your guys in the preseason, not playing them, sitting them, rest versus rust, and that whole thing. When you really look at the NFC, let's just take the NFC. How many would you say legitimate, not possible? I'm talking about legitimate Super Bowl contenders are there in the NFC right now? Go ahead, take a look. You tell me what you think is legitimate. Not like they gotta, Atlanta. Don't tell me Atlanta.
No.
Give me a legitimate Super Bowl contender in the NFC. How many are there?
49ers. Packers are off the list with the Jordan Love injury as they exist right now.
But they're on there with them.
Okay, sure. So Packers, Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, Lions.
5.
If you want to put the Rams at there, we're at 6.
Okay. So half dozen teams. So think about it this way.
I think it's an oversell of the Rams, by the way. I don't think their offensive line is going to be a Super Bowl. But anyways, but go ahead.
Or depth, the defensive line. But we'll say 5 or 6. I think that's probably right. It's a war of attrition. So in a lot of ways, more so than other sports, it is truly about the last team standing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at the way guys go down in this league, what if you had a team that sat their guys liberally compared to the rest of the league and just played to get into the playoffs, but healthy? They use the regular season in a bastardized version of the way they use the preseason. We're going to get through it, but we want that playoff because there are not that many good teams. Getting to the playoffs.
But what separates you from being a good team is having the guys that you do want to play, so you beat the bad teams routinely. But
what if you could beat them? What if you could beat them without your stars?
Here's the thing. I wouldn't trust the 49ers to beat the Carolina Panthers without their stars. That's how this league works, motherfuckers. Any given Sunday, your really good football team can get its ass kicked. Don't believe me? Ask Joe Burrow and everyone in Cincinnati who thought that they were going to be something special this year. And the worst team in football just kicked their ass at home.
But let's have a theoretical debate. Would you rather have 13-3 record and no Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs if you're Kansas City, or 10-6? But you got Mahomes?
Oh, well,
would you rather have Christian McCaffrey, but you're 9-7 and you got that last wild card spot?
But the thing is, the games that you rested him in, the snaps that he was off the field are the only guaranteed he won't be hurt now snaps. Every other snap on the field could be your last of the season. I mean, I
hear you, but it's a depth sport. So it's like if you had great depth, like the Niners have really good depth at a few spots, not every spot, but a number of spots. If they have really, really good depth, if you have a team that had incredible depth, maybe they don't have any stars. Maybe their mode is that they don't pay their stars unless it's like the elite guy. So they let everybody go and they just go replenish in the draft. And they've got a roster that's deep and loaded of young guys, but as I said, they passed their stars away in free agency. They just kind of let them go. I mean, you could, if we see a team get to the playoffs and continue to win out of the wild card round, then all of a sudden it's like, hey, it's kind of where baseball's at now. Nobody wants to really win 100 games anymore. They just kind of want to get in. But why? Because the Diamondbacks and Rangers just went to the World Series and they just got in. So it's really about just getting in and being right at the end. I don't know, man. I mean, it's football. So it's like, I want Christian McCaffrey. And it's like, if I can get to the finish line with Christian McCaffrey or the playoffs with Christian McCaffrey, I got a better chance to win the Super Bowl than if I don't have him. So maybe if you're deep enough, maybe instead of playing Christian McCaffrey 17 games, maybe you play Christian McCaffrey.
I mean, yeah, Larry, if you got a team where the guys who are 2 on the depth chart are just as good as the guys who play at how about this? If the guys who are sitting on your depth chart are just as good as the guys who are starting, you ain't a playoff team. Starters are what changes this league. And the difference between a starting NFL player and a backup NFL player is significant.
You said you're not a playoff team, but if the guys on your bench are as good as the guys, you're assuming the guys starting are good. What if the guys backing up are great?
Well, then you have the best general manager in football, and you don't need to worry about very much, do you?
Yeah, you're going to be a dynasty, and you're going to win. Yeah, I'm just saying, congratulations. If there's a team that gets like Shaq 1 year delayed surgery on his toe until like the season started, and the Lakers won the title that year. Why? Because they were the best team. Well, that's the NBA, but what if football? I mean, I'm just saying, you play a month of football, there's going to be 4 or 5 guys on every team that go down typically, and maybe 1 or 2 of them are out for the year. So if you can get to the playoffs and the teams that you're playing have 5 guys done for the year and you have 1 guy done for the year, you're in a distinct advantage.
Well, and as we were talking about earlier in today's show, the rest disparity is a real deal. If you wanted an equitable league, you would have team salary caps adjusted for their state tax brackets, and every single team would get 6 days to prepare for their next game. It would be fair. Right. It would be fair, but it's not like that. And the goal isn't that anymore. So I don't think
they want great matchups and big ratings and big revenue.
And if there's one thing that the NFL knows is there's no such thing as the Super Bowl that wasn't watched because the teams weren't sexy enough.
Yeah. But we've also never had the Super Bowl with the backup quarterbacks. And you kind of wonder if we've
could get that quarterbacks in Super Bowl, but like double backup quarterbacks facing each other.
Well, it's true. Like, I mean, Hostetler won a Super Bowl, but he had been in there for, whatever,
what's
8
his name
weeks.
For the Eagles? Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, right?
Nick Foles. Yeah, it's a good call. Let's hit a couple of
speaking of backup quarterbacks, I kind of want to go through what happened yesterday a little bit in the league. Larry, I got an 11 o'clock show, and I invite everyone to join me at the 2-minute warning on Damon Bruce Plus. That's when I go live. I know, Larry, you're going to be down in the locker room. You'll get going a little bit later. I'll be clicking on through to your show a little bit later tonight. I love this time. I'm so excited that we're going to be doing some post-game Niners tonight. This is
awesome.
Fun times, man. The other significant thing in terms of just, this could be an immediate problem for the 49ers. Dude, Sam Darnold looked great with the Vikings yesterday. Now you could say that's a lot of the New York Giants not looking good either, but Sam Darnold looked really good. And the game in Minnesota gets a lot harder next week for the 49ers if that Sam Darnold is waiting to greet the Niners inside that stadium. He looked fantastic.
Sam Darnold looked great. Absolutely great. He was 19 of 24 for 208, 2 touchdowns and the 1 pick. And I think he started like 10 for 10, something like that. He's got the best receiver going right now in Jefferson, right? And he's got Addison. It made me laugh because there were so many people that were convinced that Darnold was awful. And I thought that Trey outplayed Darnold last year in camp. I really did. The Niners didn't see it that way. They went with Darnold. Now, look at Trey. Trey's the 3rd string guy. Darnold's the starter in Minnesota. I was excited to see him play that way, Damon. One, because I really think it sends a message that if you're one of these young, talented guys who somehow flame out somewhere else, San Francisco is a great place to go to just kind of get a little bit more on your side of the equation, right? Get a little bit more talent on your side of the equation. Get a little bit better play caller on your side of the equation. There's no doubt in my mind that Sam Darnold turns the ball over way, way too much. He did it at SC, he did before he came to the Niners, and he probably always will. But
and look, the difference
he
between
turned it over less. I thought being around the Niners. I thought Shanahan had a positive effect on Darnold. I liked what I saw from Darnold in his one start late in the year, even though they didn't win.
But here's the thing. But
he's not the worst.
No, and where Sam Darnold is not a starting quarterback in this league is a level of consistency. We saw it 1 week against the Giants. It could look totally different against the 49ers, but very good start for Sam Darnold and the Vikings. And since that's the next opponent next week, just want to put that on the table. By the way, did you see Danny Dimes' interception at the line of scrimmage that he was throwing a screen pass and he got a pick? Oh, God. I
watched the entirety of Giants Hard Knocks this summer, and I really got to kind of like them, Joe Shane and the GM and Brian Daboll. But when they decided this offseason to go another year with Danny Dimes, it's like when you make one mistake, but then you make like 5 other mistakes trying to justify your one mistake. That's when you're truly fucked up. And that's the New York Giants right now. They made one mistake. They paid, 2. They drafted Daniel Jones on size, speed, that whole thing, because he's huge and fast. So that was the first mistake. And now they keep trying to justify that. And then, he just needs weapons. It's like, no, he does not take care of the football at all. He has no feel for the game at all. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. Now, they wanted Neighbors. They got Neighbors, but they passed on going, of trying to get a quarterback. And, dude, they don't have a quarterback. And in this league, if you don't have a quarterback, you wind up sucking, missing the playoffs, and winding up in the top 5, and the head coach and the GM get fired. So I love Neighbors, and he looked good. He's on my fantasy team. But
look, the
New
right
York Giants are going to be horrendous this year.
The right time to get out of the bad investment is today, not tomorrow. The right time is to get out of it today. The only good thing about how Trey Lance showed up on the 49ers is how he left. When the 49ers realized he ain't the one, they traded him. They just got out of it. They didn't look good.
Well, no, it wasn't that. I think that once he got too expensive, once it was like, we got to pay Trey $9 million because he was the 3rd pick in the draft.
Once
it was like,
investment.
No
Once
way.
it was a bad investment, they walked away, and they knew that there was no X marks the spot. The same way the Giants really know that Danny Dimes is not going to be their quarterback. They paid him to be their quarterback. They should have absolutely rebooted, restarted, moved on, but they didn't, and that's why they're going nowhere fast. And
they should go with Tyrod Taylor right now. They should go with Tyrod Taylor. They really should. Daniel Jones is broken. He turns it over a ton. Their offense is horrible. Horrible. I mean, that is one of the worst offenses I've seen. But I will say this as far as back to Darnold for 1 second. Have you noticed this? Every quarterback in the draft is going to be awesome. Jaden Daniels going to be awesome. Caleb Williams, he's going to be awesome. All these guys are going to be awesome.
Tanner Mordecai, Larry.
No, I'm just saying all these quarterbacks are going to be awesome. And then I looked up the Hall of Fame quarterbacks. For every Dan Marino, there's a Dan Fouts, a Warren Moon, a Sonny Jurgensen, a Troy Aikman, a Kurt Warner, a Roger Staubach, a Ken Stabler, a Peyton Manning, a Terry Bradshaw. What I'm saying is guys that didn't start well in year 1, 2, or 3. Sam Darnold is like 25 or 26. He's not old. So, I think Zach Wilson's going to have I thought he looked good in the preseason for Denver this year. We stamped these guys like official because Mahomes came into the league and had 50 touchdowns in his first year. And suddenly it's like, if you're not immediately great, you suck. And it's like, no. It's most of the Hall of Fame quarterbacks didn't get it going until like 26, 27, 28.
Look, the amount
Trey
of
Lance
people,
is like 23. I
the
mean,
amount
I'm
of
not
people
really
covering
willing to
sports,
say these
Larry,
guys are
the
all
amount of people
busts.
covering sports, the amount of people who say I'm a content creator, who have no idea what it is to be a professional athlete, the arc of growth, of development, or anything. You know, everyone wants to be the first with the right answer about any player that's been drafted. This guy, the other. This guy's awesome instantly. This guy's bad. You have people who don't know what they're talking about trying to lead the conversation in sports these days.
I mean, like Geno Smith was a bust, but now he's had a whole resurgence in Seattle. Yeah. I think you can't call him a bust. Or I'll give you an example. So, and it goes the other way too, Damon, and I think it's really interesting. When you're good early, and then all of a sudden it's like you're good from forever. Who's the highest paid quarterback in football? Deshaun fucking Watson. He stinks. Did you see Cleveland? I watched Cleveland against Dallas yesterday.
Terrible.
Dude, Cleveland's offense was horrible. Horrible.
Did you see the video that Barstool cranked out? It was Big Cat asking a very good question. He says, at what point do we have to admit that Deshaun Watson might be a better guy than he is a quarterback?
That's funny.
Yeah, that's tough. And by the way, speaking of all that, just to make that the most Cleveland thing possible and to build off what we were just talking about, Johnny Bust himself, Baker Mayfield, is an NFL quarterback now in Tampa. He's got a decent team. He's got a hell of a couple of receivers around him. Baker Mayfield played as well as any quarterback in football did in week 1. He was fantastic. Threw for 4 touchdowns, was just perfect basically the whole day long. He was fantastic. And meanwhile, you know, Deshaun Watson had a terrible day. Dak Prescott, the day that he signed the largest contract in the history of football, which, by the way, means the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to be winning the Super Bowl anytime in the next 6 years because Dak ain't that guy. But, boy, the Cowboys were good around him. They won all 3 phases.
Dude, remember this name. Him. One of the greatest names you're going to hear, too. DeMarvion Overshown, the rookie linebacker from the University of Texas, drafted by the Cowboys. Did you see what DeMarvion Overshown put up yesterday? 11 tackles and a sack in his NFL debut. And by the way, Mike Evans is going to the Hall of Fame, man. Mike Evans is just, he is just amazing. He's just timeless. The other one, I lost both my survivor pools on the fucking Bengals.
Yeah.
What in the hell? The Bengals lost at home to the Jared Mayo Patriots. I was very, very surprised by that. And I know Chicago's defense looks good, but Caleb looked terrible. Man, he was terrible. Yeah. 14 of 29 for 93 yards. Chicago won that game, but they scored 17 points off turnovers. Yeah, otherwise, Caleb was bad.
The best bear yesterday was linebacker TJ Edwards, who had 15 tackles in that game. He was all over the place.
He was amazing in that game. Yeah. The other, as far as the other takeaway on week 1 is, man, Bryce Young looks bad. I mean, Bryce Young is, I don't get it. They compared this kid to Aaron Rodgers. I was always skeptical, and I was skeptical mostly because I'm really skeptical of quarterbacks from LSU and Alabama and Georgia because these teams
everywhere. It's so good.
Their teams are so great that, you know, these shitbirds can look great. So who was that horrendous Georgia quarterback? He still looked great a couple years ago. And, you know, Tua looked, no, the backup guy, I forget his, what did you say? What was the name you said?
Stetson
Bennett.
Yes.
No, yeah, well, he is another guy. I mean, they won a national championship with Stetson Bennett. Tua, people were talking about Tua. Oh, Tua's amazing. No, Tua's not amazing.
By the way, Tua had a really good day yesterday.
Yeah, but he's not amazing. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Alabama, LSU, Georgia. It's like Bryce Young looked great at Alabama, but he's 5'10". He's 205 pounds. He's not the fastest guy you've ever seen. Like Anthony Richardson's faster than him, and he's 6'5", 240. He's not the fastest guy. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He's diminutive. I mean, you think Russell Wilson's small. Russell Wilson's 5'11", 230 pounds. This guy is 5'10", 205 pounds. I mean, it's a totally different deal. I mean, they took him over CJ Stroud, so they're already losers, but I mean, New Orleans just put one on them. I mean, that
Derek
was
Carr
just
pretty damn good. I mean, and
Derek
Derek
Carr
Carr
looked good.
no love from any fan base these days. Steelers threw a field goal party behind Justin Fields, who was not good, but was good enough for the Steelers to win the most Kirk Cousins game of all time. The only thing that could have made it more Kirk Cousins-y had that loss come in prime time, because that was the old Kirk can't win in prime time thing too. But he started well. He looked good. Broadcast talking about what a veteran, steady leadership he's going to bring to the foul, and then he throws picks, and it's Kirk Cousins, and look out.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh can only win games that they keep teams down because they can't score 30. I mean, they got 6 Chris Boswell field goals. But yeah, Penix is going to play in Atlanta before long, and Cousins made so much cash in his career, but his cash is great, but his career, he just doesn't win big games. Yeah. I thought Atlanta's defense looked pretty good in this game. I thought their defensive line, looked pretty good.
Kirk Cousins is in the, is a first ballot Hall of decent quarterback, Hall of Fame. Kirk Cousins is a decent quarterback. You can win games with Kirk Cousins. You can win. You can reach the playoffs with Kirk Cousins, but you're not going anywhere once you get to that point.
Yeah, he's not winning big games. He's just not. And all these people are like, well, should the Niners get rid of Brock Purdy and sign Kirk Cousins? It's like, what? That's the most moronic thing I've ever heard.
That should not happen.
Tyreek Hill getting arrested and being thrown on the ground. That was a really bad look. Really bad look. I mean, I don't know what was said there, but I mean, my God, I mean, what are you doing? What possibly could have gone on there that a guy who's the star of the team winds up face down on the cement? Right. I don't know, man. That was
pulling
bad.
Some dude out of a Lamborghini to do him like that. Like, that's just weird. And I'll tell you, Tyreek Hill, the most profound thing that he said in his post-game, press conference, when he was talking about what happened, and he was trying to measure his words carefully, because I think he's got a possible lawsuit, and that let's see what the body cam footage and investigation that the Miami-Dade County Police Department's going to open up, and internal investigation, whatever. But he basically said, it's a good thing I'm Tyreek Hill, because if I had not been Tyreek Hill, this could have gone much differently, and he's right about that. Yep. He's right about that.
And we don't know. He might have, for all we know, he may have, he may have escalated. He might have escalated the situation.
The whole thing. Look, it's good that none of the cops that actually touched him got pregnant, because that happens around Tyreek an awful lot. Anyone he touches usually gets pregnant. So I hope that didn't happen. But it was awful. And then to see his celebration do the handcuffs thing, I'm just like,
I know. Man. You knew that was coming. As far as, if I said to you the most impressive team of week 1, who I was impressed by J.K. Dobbins, 135 yards on the ground. Harbaugh's Chargers. Yeah, Harbaugh. I took a 2-teamer in the afternoon. I took Chargers on the tees, and I took Seattle against Bo Nix on the tees, and they both covered. But I watched Bowers and Mayer in that game, and I like Minshew. But my takeaway was more with the Chargers, and they're going to run the heck out of the ball. And J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal, I think, are going to be really good fantasy players all year.
You can already see Jim Harbaugh's got his hooks on that team and in his locker room, and he's up to all of his Jim Harbaugh bullshit, and it works. It works in football.
Matlack is their fullback, the gigantic Boise State defensive tackle. He's using him as a fullback. That's just so Harbaugh.
The Raiders have a defensive line that can play with just about anybody on the line of scrimmage. I believe
Wilkins.
That. They're good now on the line of scrimmage. Their coach punted on 4th and 1 late in the game. That just makes me go, oh, Antonio Pierce, you're not a head coach. What are you doing? What are you doing? How are you punting here in this scenario with this score at this time in the game? What are you doing? By the way, that's the only home game the Raiders are going to have all year long, and they lost it.
The home game in LA at SoFi.
The Raiders get one home game. The Chargers game, they have the vast majority of fans in attendance. They will never have a home game in Las Vegas, and they're usually not at home like they are against the Chargers anywhere. So
I just took Chargers just because Chargers and Harbaugh win and the Raiders typically lose. I thought the most impressive team all weekend that I saw. Now, Kansas City, Baltimore, Thursday night, that was high-level football for sure, and Kansas City got a win, and they look good. And that has to be noted. But to me, I think Philadelphia to put up 34 on Green Bay, 3 touchdowns for Saquon Barkley.
Saquon. Fantasy.
But it's not just Saquon. It's the fact that they got this Mekhi Becton, who was such a bust with the Jets, and he was playing tackle. And now they've moved him inside at right guard. So now you've got Mekhi Becton, who's the biggest offensive lineman in the game, and you've got Lane Johnson on the right side. And that's such a big physical line. I mean, that's a big physical right side. They're going to be able to combo block guys and, just kick guys out of the club. I mean, I think Philly's offensive line and Barkley, that to me was like, ooh, wow. Yeah, Barkley looks great behind this. Of course, Barkley looks great behind Philly's great line, much better than he did behind the Giants' horrible line. But now you've got, Barkley and Hurts and those weapons and this gigantic right side of your line. And I thought Philly. And then I also thought Quinyon Mitchell played really well in that game. The rookie from Toledo, the corner, one of the best picks in the draft. So to me, the most impressive week 1 team was Philly.
I'm going to go with...
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
I'm going to go with the Lions because when it got down to brass tacks time, they played a level of bully ball that you rarely see outside of college. In overtime, they had a 10-play drive, and they ran it 9 times on that 10-play drive. They just came down and whooped the Rams' ass in overtime with their offensive line on the line of scrimmage. They were fantastic. The way that they won that game was just screams Dan Campbell football. And I'll just tell you right now, if Jameson Williams is that for, the Lions with any consistency, and Gibbs plays better, and Amon-Ra, St. Brown, who did nothing last night, they have a game. Dude, the Lions are loaded. The Lions look like they're not only loaded, but they got that right mindset too. Rams are pretty damn good, but the Rams got their asses kicked in overtime on that last drive. And the Rams, they already got injury concerns all over that offensive line.
Yeah, the Rams are
thin. Game early with a knee injury. It was a rough start for LA, all things considered.
Yeah, the Rams on both sides of the line of scrimmage. No Aaron Donald on the defensive line. Their offensive line, they redid it, but you had guys out of place and you had guys out. I thought it was some bad ticky-tack calls against Terrion Arnold by the officials. That won't happen every week. He's going to be a really good young player. Yeah, Detroit looks good, especially if with Montgomery and Gibbs. And, as you said, now they got the home run hitter and Jameson Williams. I mean, they have the best collection of weapons. I mean, they got the home run hitter, they got the chain mover, they've got the awesome receiving tight end, double-headed back with the power back of Montgomery and the speed of Jameer. Yeah, the best line going, really young. The only thing is Goff. It's like Goff kind of, if you hurry him up, he's not accurate, and that's really it. Couple last ones. Ricky Williams says, what's the score prediction tonight, fellas? I'm going low scoring. I like Niners low scoring. I'm going to say like 21-13, 49ers, something like that.
God damn, I was going to say 24-13. It's
low scoring.
I think it's a low scoring game too. I hope it is. I think the Niners hope it is. And look, just the indication of what we saw around the league, if what just happened yesterday spreads its tentacles into tonight, NFL teams averaged 174.7 net passing yards and 293 total yards per game on Sunday. Both of those are the lowest of any NFL Sunday in the regular season in the last 20 years. So the entire league has broken slowly out of the gate offensively. And maybe this is something that Aaron Rodgers will show tonight, because his rest isn't just this preseason. His rest was the entirety, but for 4 plays of last season as well. We have not seen Aaron Rodgers in so long. Trying to guess what he might look like is a hard thing to do. But of the quarterbacks who took nunca, 0 preseason snaps yesterday, Watson, Dak, Cousins, Kyler, and Herbert all 5 threw for less than 180 yards. So what's that mean? What's that mean for Aaron Rodgers tonight? Could mean absolutely everything or absolutely nothing, but rusty old quarterbacks in week 1. I like the Niners' chances. I like the Niners' chances tonight an awful lot, and I'll be going live at the 2-minute warning. Larry, I got to sneak this into the show here too. Hitting a like and subscribe, everybody, please, and then we'll go through the starred super chats. Larry, my Hoosiers put 77 points up for the first time in school history. A school point total record, 77. They were up 38-0 on Western Kentucky, which is now the worst team in all of college football. But I haven't seen Indiana up 38-0 on anyone in a first half, never in my life. Like I was texting my friends. I'm like, is my TV working? Is everything, are you watching the same game I am? Is this happening? So that was fun. I had a good football weekend. No Niners stress. Caleb Williams, the first quarterback to win his debut since Derek Carr, by the way, the first number 1 overall selection rookie quarterback to win his debut is Caleb Williams since Derek Carr. So he
played like shit. He played like shit.
He wasn't great.
He looked bad. He looked bad. Texas over Michigan, dude. Saturday morning, dude. How great was Texas in that game?
Good. They look
Texas looks like they're going to win the whole damn thing. I thought that was impressive. I also think it's hilarious that Saban in Alabama, South Florida, that game was 14-6 at halftime, and it was 14-13 going to the fourth quarter. And they kept showing Nick Saban up in the booth, and it's like, this is the new thing. It's like you've got this Kalen DeBoer, the new coach, and it's like, how many shots of Nick can we get up in the booth? It's hilarious watching Bama right now. And then they put 28 on the board in the fourth quarter. And
by the way, we see you, Cal, huge win. San Jose State picked up a win.
Huge win. How about Northern Illinois knocking off Notre Dame in South Bend? Oh, and by the way, I bet Oregon against Boise. Dude, the Boise running back, Gianti, is monster. 25 carries, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ashton Gianti is just an absolute beast. You got to see this kid for Boise State, the running back. He's going to be an amazing NFL running back. Tremendous player. And then I bet Utah that covered. What else?
We got to wrap up. Here's the thing. We got to wrap up with this because I do have to get going here, Larry, and we got to wrap up. But how about the news of Kyle Shanahan basically walking up to Brandon Aiyuk on that last day and say, the contract's in front of you, sign it or get traded. It's happening today. You have 5 minutes to make your decision. You can be a Niner or a Steeler. What do you want? Dude.
I believe that Jay Glazer was told that story. I believe that the Niners may have said that to Aiyuk. The thing that I don't believe is I don't believe that John Lynch would have traded Brandon Aiyuk and dramatically damaged the 49ers' chances of winning the Super Bowl in 2024 for 2025 draft capital. I just don't buy it. So to me, it was a non-starter. But the other thing that's interesting about this, Damon, the talk was it was the Steelers for a second and a third, and that it blew up because they took that third, offered it to Denver for Cortland Sutton, and Denver said no. And if Denver had said yes, they would have done that deal. But what never ever gets brought up is, what if they had offered Denver the 2 and kept the 3 instead of offering them the 3 and kept the 2? What if they did it the opposite way? Would Denver have given them Cortland Sutton if they offered the 2? My whole thing is, I know it sounds good in hindsight to say we gave him an ultimatum. It was, hey, you're going to be traded, or, but I still, at the end of the day, you're telling me that John Lynch was on the verge of making a trade that would have been hugely unpopular, would have brought lots of heat on him and Kyle, and would have hurt the Niners' odds of winning the Super Bowl this year. I don't buy it.
Well,
I believe Glazer got the story. I just don't believe the Niners were actually going to do that. I think it's something that sounds good to say, and it may have popped the pimple, but it didn't. I don't buy that for a second that they were handing him to Pittsburgh for draft picks.
As you said, though, it might have been personal. Everyone was so exasperated. When you're exasperated, you make rash, irrational decisions, and maybe irrational was about to follow this decision had the 49ers really reached that. But I just thought that was interesting, and there's a little something to talk about while you're tailgating today next to a total stranger because the Niners ruined tailgating. So sorry about that.
Let's hit these last supers and then we'll jet.
Yes.
Last supers and then we'll jet. We got this one. Matt Keller. How do you feel about Sauce Gardner matched up with BA? Sauce will play on the left side. He typically will not travel. He said he wanted to travel. The Jets historically don't travel their corners. They play sides. I asked Shanahan, is there an advantage as a play caller? He said only if that second corner is really a liability, and DJ Reed is far from that. So this can be a tough battle on the perimeter tonight for sure. A couple more here. Fuji Simeon 13 says thoughts on all rookie quarterback debuts. Bryce Young was terrible. Bo Nix looked pretty good against Seattle. I thought
not impressive, but he won. So
Caleb, Jaden Daniels, I thought was pretty impressive, but they lost.
Okay, yeah.
I thought he looked better in defeat. We got this one, Greg Argisi. Guys, you're talking about the 80s Niner teams. RJZ. By the way, he's not a rookie quarterback, but the Colts quarterback. How about the Anthony Richardson
70 yards in the air? 70 yards in the air on a dime.
Moving and avoiding defenders. I mean, that was amazing.
It was one of the best throws you'll see all year.
Dusty Gold. Larry will take Ralph's Miata to the game tonight. You know, I park my Miata. I like to put a little tarp over it, make sure that the people I don't want barbecue sauce on any of my leather seats of my Miata. So I like to bring a tarp, a little bit of a tarp. It's a 49er tarp, and I nail it down. So I just don't want the Miata to get any kind of liquid on the seats. They say if the liquid gets on the seats, it doesn't come off, and I don't want to get it on my jeans.
Probably shouldn't use the 49ers tarp because it's biased, and I'm a media member, and I'd like my media parking, please. I certainly want to be up front, and I don't want to show that I'm too pulling for the Niners, but everybody go Niners.
We got this one from Dusty Gold. Oh, well, we got that. We got this one from 49ers. I'd like to see Terrace Marshall get some playing time. He's on the practice squad, but I'm telling you, that kid's coming.
He's not up tonight.
He's not up tonight, but he is coming. And when you see him, you're going to love him because he looks great in practice. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Sam's Chowder House. Once again, one more view of Sam's unbelievable spot before we depart, because we could show this on a loop and nobody would be mad. The beautiful Sam's Chowder House in Half Moon Bay, and Damon and I encourage you guys to go down.
When you get blue skies like that in Half Moon Bay, it's undefeated. It's just gorgeous down there. And that lobster roll, look at how much meat is on that lobster roll.
And by the way, we should tell people during football season is literally the greatest weather. I know people think, oh, California, it's always hot and sunny. We actually have kind of cooler summers, in San Francisco and around the Bay Area. Well, actually, around the Bay Area is pretty warm, but in San Francisco specifically, it's very cool. But what happens is the calendar turns to September, October, and generally the first couple of weeks of November. I mean, you're talking about maybe the best weather in the country. You're talking about beautiful sunny days, great heat, some warm nights, sit on the patio, have some oysters, have some seafood pasta, have a couple beers.
They get that nice little fire pit out there on the patio.
Fire pit. You can't beat it.
It really is. Hey, like and subscribe both channels. I will be live at the 2-minute warning. Larry will be working at the stadium. When he does go live, Larry, I will click over and into your show at some point tonight. But seriously, man, I can't wait. You and I always figure out a way to have fun together. This is the most fun we get to have together as broadcasters. Here it is. It's game day. It's game night. The expectations are go win a Super Bowl. And it doesn't get better than that, brother. So great show. Great to be with you. Thanks to everyone for watching, for commenting, for liking, for subscribing. Really appreciate it. Have a great day and go Niners. Get a win tonight. Start the year the right way.
I told Coach, we lost to the Dolphins. All right. But you know what? I'm going to get a good night's sleep. I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna go to Sam's Chowder House. I'm gonna pile down some oysters and I'm gonna watch my 40 fucking Niners who fired my ass, rightfully so. But I'm a football guy out here in Jacksonville.